For 9th standard, this is laws of motion. You all have already learned about linear momentum and Newton's first law of motion. And then today I'm going to explain about Newton's second law of motion. Now here, Newton's first law of motion is just a qualitative explanation of force. That means first law states that force is just a cause of motion, correct? So we'll see here in Newton's second law of motion how force is related to measurable quantities like acceleration and mass. Okay. Now, as you all know that force, now in the previous video I have explained that force is a rate of change of momentum. So I can write it as delta P, which is change in momentum, upon delta T. Correct? So now from this expression I can further write this as is equal to m times a, provided velocity is less than the velocity of light. Now if the velocity is more than the velocity of light, you find mass changes and this relation no longer holds true. Alright? So I can write this as m delta v upon delta t. Now this equation is only when you have velocity less than the velocity of light, so that mass does not change. Whereas if it so happens that the velocity changes, then mass also changes. So you have to use this equation. So this can be written as delta mv upon t. So in fact this is the mathematical equation of Newton's second law of motion, and you can state Newton's second law of motion as it is the rate of change of momentum. Now force applied is equal to the rate of change of momentum provided mass remains same. Okay, so and this is the mathematical statement, that is F is equal to ma. Force applied is in the force applied should be in the direction of motion to produce the change, right? So now I'm going to, in the next step I'm going to explain about how you derive Newton's second law of motion in terms of rate of change of momentum. Now we'll see the relation between acceleration and mass and force, acceleration and force and mass. Now if there are two objects having same mass and I push one, like for example there is an object having certain mass m and force, certain force F1 is applied on this object. Now I push this object gently, so there's some acceleration produced in this object. So when this is being pushed gently, you find it will accelerate, but suppose the acceleration value is 2 meters per second square, and the same object of mass, this object A, object B, mass m, same object I am pushing with a larger force. Mass is the same in both the cases. So force applied here is F2. So suppose the acceleration produced in this case is 4 meters per second square. Right? So when I am comparing, mass is the same, force applied is less, so acceleration produced will also be less. Force applied is more, so acceleration produced will be more. So you can conclude, now in this case you find F2 is greater than F1. That means there is a relation between force and acceleration. So if you plot a graph of acceleration and force, you are going to get graph of force and acceleration. It will be a straight line graph. That means acceleration is directly proportional to the force. More the force applied, more will be the acceleration. Less the force applied, less will be the acceleration. right? So this was one of the point which Newton noticed in objects which are in motion. Now again, suppose there are two objects having different masses, and we are applying force on both the objects in such a way that one is moving, they both are moving with the same velocity. You have a smaller object, you have a bigger object. So, and velocity remains the same. Both are set into same velocity. But you will find that the force that is needed to set the bigger object into motion will be more as compared to the force that is needed for the object having lesser mass. So that means I can conclude that force is directly proportional to the mass of the object. So if I plot a graph, I'm going to get a graph wherein you have mass and force. So it is being observed that for lesser mass you need less force to set it into motion for the same time, right? So again you are going to get a straight line passing through the origin. So that means again force is directly proportional to the mass. So combining both these equations, in fact you get, so that is how you get force, that force is proportional to the product of mass and acceleration. So I can write, I am going to introduce equality sign. So is equal to k, a constant, times mass into acceleration. So if I am going to adjust the force in such a way that this k becomes 1. So in that case I can write force equal to m times a, mass into acceleration. Now from this definition of force I can define the unit of force as 1 Newton. So when do you say the force applied on an object is 1 Newton? So 1 Newton of force is being applied on a body of mass 1 kg. So 1 Newton of force is applied on an object having mass of 1 kg. Mass of an object is 1 kg, and that object accelerates at the rate of 1 meter per second square. So this is the relation between newtons, and this is the SI unit. In fact 1 Newton is 1 kg meter per second square. Meter per second square. And in terms of dynes, you can write it as 1 dyne is equal to gram centimeter per second square. Alright. So I have defined the unit of force, that is 1 Newton and 1 dyne. And how is Newton and dyne related? So if I do the conversion here, 1 Newton you know is equal to 1 kg meters per second square. So in 1 kg there are 1000 grams, multiplied by in 1 meter you have 100 centimeters. So dyne. So you get the relation between Newton and dyne, which is equal to, so 1 Newton is equal to 10 to the power of 5 dynes. Okay, so this is a unit of force in terms of newtons and in terms of dynes. Right? So next, I'm going to come to examples related to Newton's second law of motion. Okay. Before that, I will just tell you all that from second law of motion you can derive the first law of motion. Like you know that in first law of motion, now force, when force is applied, you find as acceleration in the object. Okay, and force is applied, you have acceleration. So mass, it is the product of mass and acceleration. So if force applied is 0, force applied is 0. So when you are not applying any force on an object, you find the object will not accelerate. So that means acceleration also becomes 0. So that means what can, of course mass will not become 0. So now this condition applies that the object is stationary. That means the object is not moving. So that means you are getting the first law of motion, which states that when an object is at rest, it remains at rest. At rest, there is no force applied, so there is no acceleration produced. If there is some value here, that means there is some acceleration. If there is some force applied, there is acceleration. So an object continues to move. So both the criteria are being fulfilled. So from second law, you can get the first law of motion. Alright. Now we come to examples related to Newton's second law of motion. Now, a cricketer, when he is holding onto the ball, when a ball suddenly comes in his direction, what he does, now you know that from this equation, that is force is rate of change of momentum delta t. Alright. So the moment the fielder is holding the ball, he will move his hands backwards. Now what is the reason? Now I'm going to explain what if he holds his hands at the same position, and what happens when he is catching the ball and removing his hands backwards. So if he is holding his hands in position and the ball comes and hits, the ball comes with great momentum. It has got mass, it has got velocity. So you're not moving your hand backwards means within no time this value becomes a great value. So the time factor is in fact negligible, so your hands can get hurt. Alright. Now when the fielder in fact holds the ball and moves his hands in the backward direction, in fact he gets sufficient time to reduce the speed of the velocity of that particular ball. So that means there is some value here. So there will be some like certain time will lapse the moment he holds the ball and brings it in the backward direction. So due to that value here, you find force in this case will be less than the force in this case when the time is 0 or very less time. So there is a difference here. So that time the fielder's hands will not get hurt because force is getting reduced because of a value over here. Another example would be, suppose you have a glass, you drop it on the hard surface. So same thing holds true. So when the glass falls on the hard surface, the glass falls with great momentum, and the time is almost very less. Within a few fraction of a second, the glass touches the hard surface and it breaks. Here it doesn't get any time to change the value of force. But instead, if the glass falls on a carpet, so when the glass falls on a carpet or maybe a sponge, alright, so that time what happens is, due to the impact, there will be some reduction in time. There will be some time lapse between the glass touching the surface and it getting pressed. Alright, so due to that there is some value here. So due to that, as the denominator increases, you find this force value decreases. So the impact is less. So that is the reason the glass will not break. Okay, so in fact you can give many more examples related to Newton's second law of motion. So I have dealt with 2 examples here. Okay, so with this I am finishing with Newton's second law of motion. In the next video I will be explaining about Newton's third law of motion.